Welcome back to Windows on the World, part 2 of our special, where we're talking about fake protest, fake activism, and let's now get a little bit of reality. And we're going to talk to Piers Corbyn, and he's going to start off the second part of the show.
Okay, yes. What I wanted to do, which you might think is a bit strange, but given the date, it's the 11th of November 2018, you can understand why. This is 100 years to the day after the armistice that ended the Great War. The war to end wars, in which millions died, and which was followed by another world war, which millions also died. So, the question must be, what have we learnt from this, we being the world, or not? And before talking about that, I want to read a poem from Bertolt Brecht, who was reflecting after the Second World War on just what did it all mean to children in school. And the poem is entitled, and the good thing about Bertolt Brecht is he has short poems, it's to the students of the Workers' and Peasants' Faculty. And it reads, "So there you sit, and how much blood was shed, that you might sit there. Do such stories bore you? Well, don't forget that others sat before you, who later sat on people. Keep your head. Your science will be valueless, you will find, and learning will be sterile, if inviting, unless you pledge your intellect to fighting against all enemies of all mankind. Never forget that men like you got hurt, that you might sit here, not the other lot. And now, don't shut your eyes and don't desert, but learn to learn, and try to learn for what?"
Thank you very much there, Piers. And that's a good way to bring us into this second part of the show. We've been talking in the first part of the show about how the corporate-run police state is in control. And of course, what you're talking about there is what is now referred to as the military-industrial complex.
Exactly, which I put in my notes here to talk about. So you must have been reading my mind, citizen. I think a question must be that now we've had all these wars, which are like set-piece wars. Do we have them now? No, we don't have them now. But what George Orwell warned of, i.e. 3 great blocks of power having fake wars in other parts of the world and just changing sides or whatever and brainwashing their own population 24/7 is now upon us. You see, we have a lot of wars going on, but they're all proxy wars. We have a military-industrial complex in America which fuels the war on terror, which of course is a war to steal resources from around the world. But we have a mini MIC, military-industrial complex, in Britain and Europe, which of course is shoveling murder machines into the Yemen and so forth. And so it goes on and on. But as I said in the first half, there's also another war going on, a new world war, which is actually the great mass of the people against the super elite, which is getting richer and richer and richer at the expense of, the direct expense of the poorest and the middle classes in society. And if you look at what's happened now, because of the climate change story, basically people if they don't already, they soon will be paying 3 times the real production cost of energy for their energy, their petrol, their electricity. And in terms of rents on housing, I spoke to somebody in Seven Sisters recently who was basically trying to get into a flat or thinking of it where she was going to be paying 10 times the real cost of housing, so i.e. about 10 times council housing. And you see, you ask yourself, well, where's the other 9 times go to? And in the case of the energy, where's the other 2 times go to? The answer is it goes to the super corporations that own everything. So Soros gets richer and richer and richer. And when that thief that runs Google and so forth says, oh, I'll be happy to pay a bit more for my energy to save the planet, he's laughing all the way to the bank because he's going to get the money.
Well, that's exactly right. And this globalism thing is really interesting because I looked at the background to it and how it's all been kind of meshed together and phone. You've got a smartphone there, Piers. I didn't know. There's nothing smart about that, you know. I think you should turn that off. It's it's like some kind of happy clappy introduction, isn't it? So we don't want a happy clappy introduction. Well, I don't know. Get out of the room might help. But yes. It's stopped.
Looks like you're offline.
Looks like you're offline. Oh, you're offline then.
I don't know if I am or not. But...
Well, you're actually you're dabbling in smart technology now, Mr. Corbyn. I thought we were trying to form this new.
It's not 5G, mate.
This new old type of system.
You know.
Anyway, well, sorry, forget about that now.
Try that.
Now,
sorry about that. It's a nice interlude, though. Is it?
Well, it could have been pleasant, news, but what the thing is, you see, that when you play a jingle, one, you don't talk over it. You let the presenter talk over it, you see, because I was the presenter there, you see. So if you want to play another jingle, then I'll talk over it, and I'll maybe do an advert.
But I'll hum one. Jingle bells, jingle bells.
It's not too seasonal.
Or the Clash. We should have the Clash.
Well, I suppose so. But then again, we haven't got time, you see, and we don't want to have to pay for royalties, do we? Why do you call it royalties? We're meant to be anti-royalty, aren't we? We have to pay royalties. But yes, it's interesting, all this globalism thing, because we were talking about that, the way that the new globalism would be on a multipolar front, but basically the same kind of Hegelian dialectics. So it's first part of the show, I think, is very enlightening for that, because I know we keep banging on about this, but these controlled opposition movements are really a big part of what's going on. And, of course, that's the way the media works, by controlling the opposition. And so, yeah, the idea of this globalism is it's interesting, because what we're seeing now is that huge divide. You know, when they were going about the 1%, I mean, you're actually seeing that.
Well, it's 0.001%.
That's right, yeah.
It's not 1%. It's a tiny number of people who are at the top of this. Yeah.
And everybody else is now going to be either in the middle or at the bottom. So the middle rung is for all the people who are serving it, basically.
Sure. The top 1% are gaining, but not because most of them are gaining. It's because the 0.01%, part of the 1%, is gaining. So, right. You know, you could go around your block of flats and find the 1% richest people and blame them for something. But no. They're not to blame for anything. They're just in the same boat as you.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I mean, we go into that in our talks, the bigger picture. I talk about all this stuff, the way it's all kind of programmed and put in, and the layout to it all. It's quite mind-blowing, really, to start with. And then once you get the hang of it, you think, no, it's actually very, very simple. You know, it's very, very simple to keep this structure going. Now, we're going to bring Sandi in a minute, because Sandi's got stuff to tell us about what we were talking about in the first part of the show with this Extinction rebellion and this new fake activism, and some kind of information that she's been getting. So, are you there, Sandi?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, very interesting show. Thanks, Mark. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it's interesting that Piers started the show off talking about the wars, and I've seen these old guys with their medals, you know, walking about, and I'm just, when I see them, I'm just wondering what they're actually thinking with society today.
A lot of them think, won't they? Well, most reports of interviews with those people is that they didn't want to say anything for years after the wars, and when they've got older, they've basically said, look, it was completely stupid, we shouldn't have done it. Now, of course, when you're faced with a war, you have all sorts of reasons thrust upon you to do them. But, most of these old guys that go around with medals are pretty anti-war, and that's my assessment, and they'll still wear the medal, though, because, of course, that's to respect, the people who've died believing to do something better. I mean, Bertolt Brecht, it raises a lot of questions, his poem. I mean, that the people have died to put the youth in a better state, and the youth are generally in a better state, and he's kind of bemoaning the fact that they perhaps don't appreciate it. But all the same, they could have been put into a better state if the world was organised differently, and you didn't. I mean, millions didn't have to die to get a better state. Millions did die to get a better state, but that's because of the insane way that the world is organised, with super elites competing with each other to trash the rest of us.
Yes, and we've covered that in quite some depth over the last few months and even years. Now, Sandi, you've got some things to say about the new fake activism, haven't you?
Well, this Extinction Rebellion sort of came to my notice, really. I got a few things in my inbox, and on Facebook, and I saw it and thought, this smacks of
Yes.
controlled opposition.
All of a sudden,
and I got looking at it deeper and deeper and thought, yes, it definitely is. And it was interesting because people that I know had sent all this stuff to me, and these people are people in Glastonbury who are all part of the Green movement, who really think that, and they really think we've got. It's a kind of desperation. We've got to do something, and so it's given them a cause, really. And I don't want to be sort of condescending, but a lot of the people that I know who got involved in this Extinction Rebellion activist sort of thing in Parliament Square on the 17th are quite young. They're sort of like in their sort of 20s to 30s. And they remind me of me when I was that age, and that sounds really condescending. But it does, doesn't it? And I'm sorry about that, but it's true. I joined Transition Town movement, and I got Transition Town training, and I was part of the Green Party, and all that, and just pushing the whole agenda, thinking I was doing good, and I actually had to. I felt myself, sort of. I just had to say to them, have you ever heard of Agenda 21? And none of them had. And I said, well, actually, you're looking at the wrong bad guys, actually. These are the bad guys that you're supporting, because, Agenda 21 is actually the extinction. It's not climate change,
Well, that's the ironic thing, isn't it? I mean, I think these things are kind of thought out. It's just the way that they're done so much to a template that once you see the template, you cannot unsee it. They are all the same. And the stupid sloganeering and getting this kid involved, I mean, it's beyond ridiculous now to me.
I mean, that's unbelievably manipulative and awful. Mm-hmm. And so many people saying, oh, it was so moving seeing this 15-year-old. No, it wasn't. It was painful. And it was wrong. There's something really wrong about manipulating a 15-year-old to stay off school and get involved in something that is a complete lie. And when she's older, hopefully she will understand what it's all about, and hopefully, before too long, because an awful lot of people have jumped on this bandwagon because they feel, they feel the world's falling apart. There's all these, terrible floods and this, that, and the other. They don't see what it is.
There's always been
as
floods.
Piers knows, we've got a wild jet stream because of the sun's
because of world cooling and the
because,
slow solar activity. Nothing to do with man. Nothing.
Well, it's the idea that I've been on the planet for 15 years and I've never known things so bad. It's like, what the hell is going on here?
Exactly.
A question, Sandi, must be, I mean, to anyone who thinks for a second, how come all of a sudden in a lot of countries in the world, simultaneously, people have suddenly decided to join an Extinction Rebellion? I mean, did George Monbiot, sitting in his Guardian office, suddenly think, my God, I'm feeling like Extinction and then make a speech and then everyone follow instantly.
No, he got
the answer's
call
not.
from the usual
It must have come from somewhere.
Yeah,
simultaneous.
It
process.
came out of the
But
same
who?
people.
Where?
It came out
Where?
of the same people.
Who are they?
Who
Name
organised Occupy? Well, Francis did earlier on today.
Yeah,
we
yeah,
don't
yeah.
need to give their names
No, we
in a
don't,
way
no, no.
because
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
important is the fact that it's just a template, and it's a template that's been rolling on for about 15 years, and they haven't changed it. And all of these things came out of the pre-Occupy, and you've seen these things come and go.
Somebody
Piers,
must have
but-
decided the title. Who's that? Where
well,
do they do
exactly.
this?
I think that when you look at the key people who
Is it the
took
Guardian?
over Occupy and then disappeared into the background, they have these meetings. And I know for a fact that some of these meetings take place in Fleet Street. Right? Now, this is quite interesting because they call these people in, these key people, to go in and listen to this thing. And basically, because you can do it online so easily, they just adopt the slogan. So it's very easy to get it out there. And of course, when you've got completely useful idiots like Monbiot, then that will draw a crowd because, you know, I know the Guardian is struggling, but it doesn't seem to be struggling that much in the southeast, you know. I mean, I think Christopher Monckton said 2 years ago it was going to be extinct by now, but he's wrong.
Oh, that's the extinction. Oh,
That's
it's
the
the
extinction.
Guardian
Yes.
extinction.
The
Oh, my
Guardian
God.
extinction has not happened. Just like the climate change extinction will not happen. The Guardian will keep on bleating and boring the crap out of us as long as it can.
If the Guardian would report real news, you know, it could sell. But now, you know, I mean, I used to read the Guardian years ago, but now I never do. Well, I have to admit, I don't read almost any newspapers, but the Guardian, please, you know, alternate lies are lies. Alternate lines are lies.
But they're mainly opinion pieces anyway, and it's all down to. I mean, there's some real stupid subversives that I've come across that actually write for it, and you think, well, these people can't even write, so what are they even going into a newspaper for? They can't even think the way out of anything. And of course, but it's not about that. It's about sloganeering. It's about sound bites and virtue signalling. This new idea of virtue signalling, you know, and that's incredibly powerful to globalists and bankers because getting them to virtue signal is pretty easy, really, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was quite. I also noticed that there was a training going on in Glastonbury last week. On I think it was the 5th of November at Goddess House in Magdalen Street.
Goddess House.
What's wrong with Goddesses? Come on. You should have gone along there and pointed some things out.
I wished I had. I was actually very, you know, I was out of town on November the 5th, but it was held in. I wished I'd gone.
You could have alternative
later,
training.
But I didn't. But 30 other people did.
Okay.
And it was on non-violent direct action training. Training and affinity group forming.
Well, that's
we
like
know
something
what
that the
template
KGB
is,
would
don't we?
have, isn't it?
Yeah, well,
that's
absolutely.
exactly what the KGB would do.
It is.
Listen to
definitely.
Yuri Bezmenov, and he talks about this stuff. And you listen to these ex-Soviet KGB people, and that's exactly the kind of rhetoric that they use to recruit.
Yeah. I mean, it's and someone like George Monbiot, you know, he was there speaking. You know,
oh please,
this man, you know, it's been given the UN Global 500 award. You know,
he's incapable of meeting any argument. I've had an attempted debate with him once. It was just nothing. You know, I'd say something and he'd launch into something completely irrelevant, tangentially.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a trick, isn't it? And basically, the strategy is to do that. It's to what they do, like what they did with you. So, I suppose you think that we haven't got a climate catastrophe. I suppose you think we never went to the moon. Well, no, I wasn't talking about the bloody moon. I was talking about the climate. You
That's
know.
Right. And I suppose you think Donald Trump is great, don't you?
Trying to conspiracy theorise you and just.
And I suppose, Mr. Corbyn, you think the Earth's flat as well. Okay, now back to George Monbiot, somebody who's a real journalist. Thank you, George. Yeah.
Well, that's what happened when I was speaking at that Exeter thing.
Yeah,
Remember the professor said, "Oh, Mr. I can't even begin to deal with what Mr. Corbyn has said." Well, indeed, he couldn't begin, but, you know, he was trying to say as if it was all complete nonsense. The fact was he had nothing to say about the facts I put before the people there.
Yeah. Just had this in chat. Monthly Blimpton has stated, I'm pretty sure Monbiot is a Freemason. Well, he's just a bloody idiot, really, isn't he? I mean, anyone who wears an apron and sits in a coffin and then says I'm reborn is an idiot. But I think he's just an idiot.
And anyone that writes a manifesto for the New World Order is an idiot. I'm sorry. It's The Age of Consent, the book he wrote, and he underwrote it as a manifesto for the New World Order. So we know where
I think George Soros has written that already. I mean,
exactly.
Are there two manifestos? Yeah. How many manifestos does the New World Order have?
Zbigniew Brzezinski wrote one as well, didn't he?
Bomb the Yemen must be in the list of it.
Yeah. Anyway,
somewhere.
Yeah, he's definitely a wrong un.
Exactly.
But it is interesting that all these people just seem to be buying into this Extinction Rebellion because I think they feel disempowered, and when they see something they think, oh, jump on that bandwagon and do it.
Well, exactly. Yes. I mean, the thing is though that once the template goes on and on and on, I actually find it so boring. But then it's a bit like when these people sort of infiltrate things and then they disappear and then they come back again. You think, oh, it's them, and there's a whole load of new people who haven't seen it, so they'll then gang up on you and say, well, what's wrong with him? He hasn't done anything wrong to me. So no, he was here 5 years ago. Oh, so he was here 5 years ago. So yeah, he was doing exactly the same. Oh, he was doing exactly the same thing then. Well, that's a good thing, isn't it? And you just start going, okay, this is how sort of subversion works. This is how psychological subversion works, because when they come back, they after a few years away, they basically you'll get attacked for saying what you said about them 2 years ago. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
it's kind of funny.
I'm interested in the mechanism of all this. I mean, who decided somewhere that we're going to now launch an Extinction Rebellion? I mean, did they check with George Soros and say, "Where's the money?" I mean,
I think
was George Monbiot? Was it his idea? Why now? Why now?
There's a lot of money behind it, isn't there?
It's mixed up with Brexit. Is it mixed up with Brexit? I bet it is.
Well, the thing is that it doesn't take that many people to put these things out there. Remember, that's what I just said. The internet, you see, it's just basically putting it out on the internet. It doesn't cost anything to do that. All you need is a logo and an army of people and useful idiots who will promote it. And there's plenty of those. You only have to have a few ringleaders. And when I saw who the ringleaders are Occupy...
But it's simultaneous around the world, isn't it?
Well, it's simultaneous around the world. It just means it's put on the internet. And with the Occupy, what they did is they took it over, and then they had these thing called General Assemblies, which were run with Delphi technique. And that was the first time I'd come across it. And I know I keep going on about this, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. You will never, ever fall for it. Again, once you've seen that, it's impossible to fall for it. But when I looked at this Extinction Rebellion thing, it's actually more banal and stupid than any of the things before it.
That's
so they're getting more
when I was
desperate
looking
than
at the website and the Facebook page, it seemed really banal, and that's in our favour actually, because to everybody that sent that to me, I sent Francis Leader's article, and that makes sense, and it's a very, very badly put together campaign, I think.
Well, I don't think it's. Yeah, you couldn't even call it a campaign, could you? It's kind of a soundbite, ad hominem attack on people who they don't like, and it says, "Hope dies, action begins. We are facing an unprecedented global emergency. Our children and our nation face grave risk." What from the weather? That's very strange. The planet is in ecological crisis. We're in the midst of the 6th max extinction event this planet has experienced. Well, that's an absolute load of crap.
We should ask what the other 5 were.
We need to know what the other 5 were, and they don't state them. See, scientists believe we may have entered a period of abrupt climate. We may have entered a period of abrupt climate breakdown. Well, anything may happen. We may get hit by a comet tomorrow. It doesn't mean that we have to lie in front of cars in the middle of the bloody road, does it?
Yeah. And all it will do is discredit them and get them arrested, which is what everybody wants.
But they want the real, genuine protesters to get arrested, because they'll have immunity. Monbiot, whatever he does, will not get arrested. Or if he does get arrested, they'll let him out, right? What they want to do is deal with, genuine protesters involved in fracking and put them away.
I've seen this happen time and time again. I mean, even those things where they disrupted and took over courts. There was one fella who they thought was going to be an up-and-coming leader, possibly for the other side, or the side of righteousness, or whatever he wanted to be, because he was an individual, and they just put him in prison. And I saw that years ago. I mean, we know how this works, but they're going on here. The Earth's atmosphere is already over 1 degree centigrade warmer than pre-industrial levels. Well, you can't measure that with any accuracy anyway, can you?
It's a lie. It is a complete lie. They've fabricated modern temperatures. They make the past colder and the present warmer by adjustments and homogenisation. And if you go on our website, weatheraction.com, and read my most recent presentation, you can see the figures where they admit it. They show they've had one data set and another data set and another data set, and they modify all of them.
It says recent projections show we are on course for 3 degrees of warming. 3 degrees?
Well,
they were great. I thought they were fantastic. Great vocal.
I haven't noticed people travelling to the Arctic for holidays. They normally go to Spain, right?
Yeah.
So most people would like that if it happened, but it is not going to happen. I mean, it's just not. We're in a cooling phase now.
Well, the 3 degrees are response. I'm going to phone that Sheila Ferguson and get a response to this. She's responsible. The 3 degrees are responsible for global warming. I'm shocked. It's terrible, really, isn't it? Children alive in the UK, children alive today in the UK will face unimaginable horrors as a result of floods, wildfires, extreme weather, crop failures, and the inevitable breakdown of society. Well, I think they've already done that anyway, when the pressures are so great.
Well, the inevitable breakdown of society is the breaking up of communities and destroying of council estates in order to make super profits.
Yes, but that's practical, Piers.
And that is Agenda 21.
That's right. It says here, we are unprepared for the danger our future holds. Well, you're always bloody unprepared for the future, aren't you? The dangers of the future, if you're prepared for them, you'd know about them.
You mean you're not insured, Mr. Windows?
Well, we can't insure against 1.5 degrees climate change, Piers, as you know, and 3 degrees are in charge. So when will I see you again?
I'm sure you could buy insurance against it.
Right, here we go.
Happen, so you would lose, mate.
Here we go. The time for denial is over. We know the truth about climate change, and we know the truth about current biological annihilation. It's time to act.
Don't.
Oh, yes, we do. Whose sweets? Our sweets. We demand a
sweets or streets? Sweets.
No, I say our sweet. I've been doing it for weeks.
I know,
Piers.
you've been saying sweets.
It's an in-joke. Because it's whose streets are streets.
So
I say, whose sweets are sweets? Because we've got a 15-year-old now running the world.
I don't do jokes,
Yeah, I know you don't do jokes, but it doesn't mean you can't understand one. It's time to act like this truth. Hey, wait a minute. This is good, isn't it? It's time to act like this truth is real. In other words, so it doesn't have to be real. We have to act like it's real.
Right.
Nice one. Yeah, very good there. Yeah. Nice bit of subversion.
Well, we were told we'd have the end of snow in the United Kingdom by now, and we've had more and more snow since 2010. We've had 8 years of extra snow when they said we should have had none.
What does living with this truth call on us to do? Will you die knowing you did all you were able to? I'm going to die knowing I did all I was able to. I mean, and then it's got rebel.
What did you do in the war?
I'm going to click there's a big hand that says rebel. It is clear that the political system has completely failed us. It shows a total lack of urgency and is backing policies based on wishful thinking. Scientists made clear the implications of continued carbon emissions in 1990. CO2 in the atmosphere has since increased by 60%. Over to you, Piers.
Well, very interesting the way that is put. The politicians have failed. Because you see, this is a nihilistic movement.
That's right.
Now, if you recall how Hitler got into power, there was a big nihilistic movement.
Do you mean that George Monbiot is the new Hitler?
Well,
how depressing.
No, I mean, but you see, nihilism against all politicians is very important for Hitler, because then he popped up with the answers to how to deal with the fact that the Allies had basically, crushed Germany and was extracting huge amounts of war reparations out of them. So, you know, but nihilism against rational discussion, or however poor it may be in the political agenda, could lead to, you know, dictatorship type callings, you know, all sorts of far-right groups, which come forward under different names, of course. They won't come forward saying we're far-right. They come forward saying we've come to save the world and so on, which, of course, is what they do here. So I don't know where this is going, but, you know, the way the current government is going, one wonders what they're going to do to try and keep control. I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
Sorry, there's a lack of understanding history as well. If you understand the history, which isn't being taught, or it's being distorted, or it's being, I don't know what's happening in education, but all I know is there's a dumbing down where people
read that poem again.
If you understand history, you understand the repeating of the mistakes, like nihilism, you know, and Nazism.
Yeah, it says you might say then that those who govern us intend to kill our children are presently engaged in a crime against humanity. Yes, they are, because that is the global action plan. But they've reversed it, and they're saying that we have to fall into climate catastrophophobia to change the world. But that's
part of the global action plan.
They've quoted it here. That those who govern us intend to kill our children are presently engaged in a crime against humanity. Well, actually, that's true, but not for the reasons that they think. In any democratic society, citizens have not just the right, but also a duty to rebel against tyranny. Well, what are these people rebelling against? You can't rebel against the weather.
No.
You can't rebel against the weather, can you really? I mean, you can try to, but, you know, you can do dances and try to stop it raining and stuff like that. But what do they actually mean? I mean, it's
they
totally
trying
ridiculous.
to wake up? I mean, it sounds like it was held in Parliament Square. Aren't they trying to send a message to the government, who actually are the ones implementing Agenda 21?
Well, no, it's done on behalf of the it's done on behalf of the government.
They don't know about that. If they were there actually, you know, sort of rebelling against that would be positive, and that would be proactive. But actually, you're right.
Let me get on to this next bit, Sandy. This is absolutely hilarious. From the 31st of October, citizens of this country will commit repeated acts of disruptive, non-violent civil disobedience. There will be mass arrests. Well, wait a minute.
Hang on.
Now, hang on a minute. Well, there will be mass arrests. So you're telling me that I turn up and I go out of my way to save the climate, and I'm going to get arrested? Well, thanks a bloody lot, you know. We demand the UK government.
No swearing here.
Well, no, you have to. Sometimes for emphasis, it's quite powerful, Piers. But I never use really bad swear words, you know. And I don't like other people doing it. But I think sometimes for comedy effect, I mean, you've completely ruined that line, really, you know.
And you think that's funny? Okay.
I don't think it's funny. I did it for effect. I'm sorry, I'm a propagandist. You know, I mean, I know I'm going to get terribly slated for that now, aren't I? I use the B word.
Oh, right. Well, there's other words which are worse. Yes.
I know. Okay. Yes. However, it says, we are willing to make personal sacrifices. Okay, so your personal sacrifice is to hang around with a bunch of other losers who are going to get arrested for no apparent reason and for no apparent purpose. Great. We are prepared to be arrested and go to prison. Who's we? Who's the big we here, right? We are prepared to be arrested and go to prison. There's not one name on that website. So who are they? So in other words...
Monbio, no.
No, but the point is, right, it's called Extinction Rebellion, and they're saying we are prepared to be arrested and go... Who is?
Yeah.
Who? Give us your names.
Well, they're speaking for the people that they're brainwashing, yeah.
Well, no, they're basically being cowardly and stating... It's a bit like... You know, it's a shadow government. You know, we are prepared to be arrested and go to prison. Well, who are? You have to be named. You actually have to be a person to go to prison, don't you? You have to be a commodity to go to prison.
Yeah.
We will lead by example to inspire similar actions around the world. So you cause a load of trouble, then run away, and then get people arrested. This requires a global effort, but we believe it must begin in the UK, where the Industrial Revolution began. What are they talking about now?
Well,
oh my gosh!
You know, Francis was
Revolution,
talking about sectioning people.
Yeah,
I think we should actually find the people who wrote this and then give it to people in mental health and see what they think. You know,
but see, this is written to excite the BBC, or it might have been written by the BBC, because they'll report this camp, climate camp or rebellion camp, as more proof that the world is heading for, a climate catastrophe, and therefore you've got to follow this fake agenda. That is what it's about. That's why it's timed with the 14th of November, just preceding it. And well, some of us are going to be giving out leaflets outside the 14th of November event. Anyone who wants to help us, I think, please just get in touch, because there will be events to counter the man-made climate change lie. So the best way to get in touch, Mark, is what? To send an email to...
yes, windowsontheworld.net, info@windowsontheworld.net. And to top it all off, it says at the bottom, join the rebellion. And, of course, they've got your name, your email address, everything about you. So they're monitoring you through the Extinction Rebellion. It says, we will not be led quietly to annihilation. Well, who's saying who's going to lead them quietly to annihilation? I mean, but this is what's going to happen. They're going to get arrested.
A professionally produced website, which must have had certain, there's certain experts and cost behind this. It didn't spontaneously. George Monbiot didn't do this.
Well, it's very simplistic. I don't think it's had a great amount of money spent on it, but you don't have to spend money on it. But let's see where this video goes. I mean, there's heading for extinction and what to do about it. Well, I mean, how many people in the past have known what to do about their own extinction? I mean, it just doesn't make sense, does it? Like you say, okay, so how many species have gone extinct? What did you do to stop your extinction?
Right. This is the end of the news. Sorry, no, this is the news of the end.
That's at 17,000 hits, and it's on Rising Up. It's a lot more than their other stuff. So, heading for extinction and what to do about it. Oh, it's 50 minutes 32 long. Yeah.
Too long.
I think it's too long, isn't it? Well, we've only got 12 years to save the planet, so I haven't got 50 minutes to waste on this.
No, it's curious they're making it a long video. It must have been they're expecting to brainwash people in 50 minutes. Because most people that only watch videos that are 5 minutes.
Well, that's no good then, is it? It means our shows are a complete waste of time.
Well, we're aiming for a smarter set, obviously.
Yes.
Don't use the word smart, though.
Yeah.
No. I'm lost for words now, I'm afraid, Mark.
Well, I think we've had quite a good little interaction there, but have you got anything to say, Sandi? Because you've seen... I haven't seen the Extinction Rebellion uprising close up, but I think you have, haven't you?
Well, only because, as Piers said... It seems to have. I mean, obviously, it's been going. I think it's been going for a couple of years.
It has since 2016. Actually,
it's been
rising
about. But it's definitely had a bit of a surge in the last couple of weeks, and I've heard about it. Just putting on radio. I was listening to Radio 2, believe it or not, going down the motorway the other day, and there was somebody phoned in to some phone thing. And they were talking about Extinction Rebellion, and they were saying, "Well, come to the, the big, gathering in Parliament Square," and it was being pushed by Radio 2. And I thought, hang on, this was the same day that I'd received the thing about the training locally, and then I'd heard that a whole load of people from my town were going down there and actually performing. I mean, there's some of the musicians from Glastonbury. Admittedly, they're sort of kind of hippie type sort of kind of devotional singers, and they were up there, doing songs about climate change and stuff, and I just thought this is really interesting that it seems to have had this huge push recently, and Piers might be able to answer this. I think there has been, as far as I can see, a lot of people are questioning the anthropogenic global warming thing, and maybe it's because they think, oh gosh, we don't want to lose this battle. We've got to push our agenda forward really quickly and really fast. And they seem to have organised, and it does smack of Soros. The organisation, of people and trainings and getting people mobilised has happened very quickly. And I'm very suspicious about the whole thing, really.
Yeah, well, it's definitely ties in with the Vivienne Westwood School of Critical Thinking. And I would say that enrolling in the Vivienne Westwood School of Critical Thinking Academy is essential for actually grasping what is going on in the world.
Set up our own academy.
And, well, the thing is, Piers, that, we're talking about people who... These are people with great experience, and we have to do our research before we take them on, because the climate catastrophe that's ahead of us, and we only have 12 years to work on this. What we're going to do? I
wonder why they've made 12 years.
12 is interesting, isn't it?
2018, add on 12.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's 2030, you see. Am I right there? Yes, I am right there. Which, of course, that is actually...
Agenda 2030.
Yeah, it's Agenda 2030, but it's also, they maybe read our own information, that we'll be in the middle of a new Maunder minimum then, or the start of a new Maunder minimum of extreme cold and loads of ice in Russia and in Sweden. So where these people will go about their man-made, runaway warming, I don't know. But I think the point you're making about them being desperate is correct. You see, they read our propaganda, they read our facts, and they know that there is going to be increasing extreme events, but not of the sort they expected. So they've already learned what's going to happen, because we told them 10 years ago that we were going to have a wild jet stream and associated extremes of certain types. So they've adopted the mantra, all extremes are man-made extremes in the weather, which of course is bullshit.
It's untrue,
yeah. But they know that they are in trouble, and the response we've been getting around the country and at the festivals this in the last 6 months shows that there is more and more people who seriously do question the climate change thing. And opinion polls in America have put it like at number 30 in concerns, So it is going down. So their IPCC latest report, as I said in my 6-point challenge to them, is a completely desperate, over-the-top attempt to, reinvigorate the lie. And also, the climate change agenda is one of the triple ideology game they have, namely, man-made climate change is an important belief system to corral people. It goes along with Remainism and keep out of the European, and stay in the European Union. So anyone who's opposed to that is a racist or something. And of course, Trump hatred. So those three things together, of course, all hang together. And if one of them drops off, then people question the other two. And the climate change agenda flows straight out of the European Union anyway, of course. And as I said before, if Trump liked the European Union, they wouldn't use him as a hate object. They would find somebody else as a hate object.
Yeah, it's the narrow corridor of accepted opinion, and they. Hello, Sandi, you're still there. That's great,
yes.
Because next week
I thought
we're going to be in Manchester, Saturday the 17th of November, 12 till 6 p.m, St Sebastian Centre, 1 Douglas Green, Salford. Tickets available at windowsontheworld.net. Also, we're going to be in Lytham St Anne's on Sunday the 18th, 12 till 6 p.m, the bigger picture again. So do come and see us there. Look on windowsontheworld.net and book your tickets for the Saturday event. On Sunday, it's New Horizons, Lytham St Anne's. We'll have some great talks on there. And on Monday, I'm going to be giving a little bit of a talk about the backgrounds of where I came from. In other words, how we started to solve problems. I'm going to give you the insight into the court cases that I have won, how to deal with administration. And that's another jingle from Mr. Corbyn there on his smartphone.
I turned it off twice.
I don't believe you.
I
think you're some kind of infiltrator. We've been infiltrated by climate change camp. Now, yeah, so do come and see us. And that's about it from this particular Windows on the World show. We'll see you all in Manchester, Lytham St Anne's or beyond. Please do book us for a show in your local area. The bigger picture, the three of us, Sandi, myself and Piers, we can outline the global action plan, what's happening and what to do about it. Thanks very much for listening, everybody, and thanks for everybody who's been in chat. That's it for this second part of Windows on the World. Listen to the first part as well, and we'll see you soon.